To explain how to read your dog's body language, we welcome back certified canine behavioral consultant Brie Blakeman. Great to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.
And thank you for bringing along your assistant today.
Absolutely.
Introduce me to our friend here.
This is Yuka.
She's gorgeous. Look at her. She found her close-up already.
Yes. she's certain she's a star.
She's ready. She's ready. Okay, let's talk about dog behavior and body language because it's information for us, right? And we can use it to our benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, we like to say that behavior is information. And it's really beneficial to start thinking about our dog's behavior less as something that they're doing to us and more as information that we can learn more from them.
Okay. And I think we have an example too, a quick tape we can show to maybe get a glimpse into a few things that are happening with the behavior in this dog that we're seeing on our screen right now. I saw the tongue, a little head shake, a little scooch, okay. Looking up, looking around, sniffing. There's a lot happening here.
Yes.
Tail wagging, okay. And then you have kind of this decoded for us with several behaviors to point out that there's a lot happening in real time.
Yes, there is. So a lot happened really quickly in that very short video. And a lot of people would probably interpret that dog as being playful, as probably being friendly or soliciting attention. But all of the signals that you're going to see listed off here are signs of stress, conflict, and discomfort.
Okay.
We call them either distance increasing signals or decreasing signals. They're also known as calming signals. So these are things our dogs might do to, one, communicate that they are uncomfortable or that they need space, but also they are a way of trying to self-regulate and calm themselves down.
Sure, that makes sense. So we can go through kind of step by step what some of these things mean. First being turning the head, like turning their head away from you. Okay.
Yes. So a lot of people think that if they give their dog a cue, like sit or down, if their dog turns their head away, they're being stubborn. But stubbornness is really just a human construct, right? So what is most likely happening there is that the dog either just needs a moment to process their environment or what you've requested, or it's a cutoff signal, meaning they actually aren't feeling comfortable and they need a moment and cannot actually complete that request. So they're not being stubborn, they're just having a hard time.
Okay, that makes sense. What about licking the lips?
Licking the lips. So a lot of these behaviors happen when our dogs are not stressed. So if I give Yuka here a treat, she might actually lick her lips after. But if I haven't given her a treat and she licks her lips, that is information for me that she might be feeling a little uncomfortable, a little conflicted about her environment. Or again, she's trying to regulate that kind of conflict and stress so that she can be in more of a more of a calmer state to actually deal with her environment.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. You wouldn't think of that sort of as our own human interpretation. It's a whole different story going on with what they're dealing with. What about a big yawn? What does that tell us?
So outside of the context of being tired, again, it's a calming signal. It's kind of like when we are feeling stressed and we go, wow, that was a lot. It's a way of trying to bring that heart rate down so that we can cope with the situation at hand. But if we're seeing this lip licking and yawning, you might want to look at what's happening in the environment and try and assess, like, what is causing this stress for my dog and what could I do to make it easier for them?
And are there ways you can tell maybe if it is just a tiredness thing or if they're telling you something else?
I would say context. So if they just woke up or it's bedtime, absolutely yawning, licking their lips, they might just be trying to wake up. But if something happened in the environment, like something fell and my dog yawned, or if I tried to give her a hug and she yawned, turned her head, licked her lips, that would tell me that she's actually responding to something in the environment that is causing some of that stress.
Okay, let's get to another one here. What about shaking off? What does that tell us?
Shaking off, very similarly, it's a way of regulating. If they are wet, they're just shaking off that water. That's very normal behavior. But if they're not, they're probably trying to shake off some stress.
Okay. kind of like we get the wiggles and let some things out. What about airplane ears? What does that mean? What does it look like?
Well, they're not flying anywhere, but it's a way of communicating. I'm not too happy about this situation. I call them frowny ears.
Oh,
so those ears go right out to the side.
Sure.
And they're kind of look like they have a tight jaw and a little bit of frown on their face.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying this really isn't, I'm not feeling too good about this right now.
Okay. What is a whale eye? What does that look like?
Whale eye, we sometimes call it a half moon eye, or some people will say my dog's giving me the stink eye. You see it a lot if a dog has a history of resource guarding, or they don't like being handled in a certain way. They may freeze, tighten their jaw, and you see like a lot of white in their eyes. And we want to be really careful when we're seeing that whale eye, because all of these stress signals are subtle ways our dog is asking for space or asking for a need to be met. And when we don't respond with that space, they feel the need to kind of climb what we call the ladder of aggression. So whale eye is one of those last kind ways the dog is communicating, I need space.
I'm trying to tell you something and you're not listening.
And what follows is like shouting, right? So that could be air snapping, growling, and then eventually biting. So we really want to make sure that we're responding to these kind and subtle requests in an appropriate way.
And are there a couple of ways the tail communicates with us as well?
So we've been kind of lied to our whole lives. So a wagging tail doesn't just mean a happy dog.
All right.
Got to burst that bubble.
Interesting.
I know. So to make things complicated, a wagging tail could mean I see a squirrel and I want to chase it.
Yeah.
A wagging tail could mean I really don't like you. I want you to go away. Typically, if the tail's high and wagging really fast, we call it like a flagging tail, and the rest of the body is super tense, then that is a dog I would want to keep distance from and not approach. Alternatively, like in the video we saw of that black lab, if that tail's really low and wagging fast, that's a really scared dog that same needs space. And if we keep encroaching on their space, we might get that escalation of behavior because the dog feels trapped and like they can't escape.
What about like a helicopter motion? Is that a whole different message entirely?
All behavior really depends on the individual. So it's important to look at behavior in context of the individual and the environment. But a helicopter tail can be like, I'm really happy, I'm so happy to see you. But it depends on what other behaviors we're seeing in concert. So if we're getting some stiff body language and a helicopter tail and tight lips and licking lips, I would read that as a dog who's not yet sure, they're conflicted, and I would want to give them time.
Makes sense. Use the other context clues that you have to kind of decipher what's happening. Thank you so much for spending time with us. That was great information. I'm going to go home and keep a watchful eye on my dog. Thank you, Yuka. You did a great job. Great to meet you both. We'll have more information on our website at KATU.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.